What a horrible situation. The man is trying every possible trick to bring his car back to the route. In this scenario, the man is using force to bring his car back into motion. Force is the push or pull which can cause various effects. In all these cases, force is acting. Even getting up from bed requires a little amount of force. The final result of the force applied is dependent upon the magnitude of the force. In the picture, you can see two men throwing money. The first man is applying lesser force than the second one. So, the resultant force of the second man is slightly larger than the first one. Have you ever noticed that cycling during normal days is much easier than during windy days? Can you say the reason? In both the scenarios, there are multiple forces acting from different directions. Force is a vector as it needs both magnitude and direction. In these situations, friction, force of wind, and the force applied by bicyclist is shown. In such cases, resultant force is considered. Why is it difficult to do cycling here? It's because the resultant force is very less. Resultant force is the total vector sum of the given forces. Sum here doesn't refer to addition. The force of wind is very high in the opposite direction of motion. The resultant force will be F1 minus the sum of F2 and F3. In this scenario too, the resultant force will also be the same. But, why is it easier to cycle here? It's so as the sum of F2 and F3 is much lesser than F1. And, what is the direction of the resultant force? The direction of the resultant force is in the same direction of motion. Can you say why is the rope stationary or in the state of equilibrium? It's because the force from both directions cancel each other, thereby giving zero as the net force. You can clearly see here is that two people are applying force on the car to move. So, the net or resultant force will be the sum of their force as it's applied on the same direction. When the object is stationary, are there any force acting on it? Well, many forces act on the object but they cancel each other and the resultant force becomes zero. Force can cause various changes and effects. It can change the shape and size of an object. It can change the direction of the motion and, it can also change the state of an object.